Benchmark kettlebell front rack position. This is a benchmark because it is really important to get this right. We're going to start using front rack positions in a lot of our workouts, and what I don't want is for you to hurt in the front rack position or not understand what it's supposed to look like or feel like. A front rack position with a kettlebell means you are holding the kettlebell with one arm in front of you, hence front rack. We can have single arm front rack or we can have double front rack. Double front rack would just refer to two kettlebells, one in each hand, holding both in the front rack position. All right, so this is what the front rack position looks like. This right here. I want you to look closely at me right now. Look at where my kettlebell is. Look at where my hand is. Look at where my shoulder is. Look at where my elbow is. Look at all of this closely. Whenever you are holding a kettlebell in the front rack position, it needs to look like this, okay? Here's what I don't want to see. This, don't let me see it. Just don't. I also don't want to see this. Don't do that. I don't want all of this right here. I also don't want this. You see all of this space right here? No, no, no. Normally, I am not so black and white about things, but the front rack is one that there are just some ways that are wrong and there is one way that is right. So knowing that should be super helpful because this is not a gray area. All right. So when we are holding a kettlebell in the front rack position, what we are doing is we are holding the kettlebell kind of in the crook of the handle, and then we are letting the ball rest on our forearm. Should the front rack position hurt? No, it should not hurt. Will you feel pressure on your forearm? Yes, you will feel pressure on your forearm. There's no way you couldn't. You are resting literally a piece of cast iron ball on your forearm. You're going to feel pressure. You should not have bruises from the front rack position. If you have bruises from the front rack position, we need to talk. You need to send me a video. We need to figure out what is going on because the front rack position should not leave bruises. The front rack should not hurt your wrist. We want to think about keeping our wrist bended a little more towards us so that when the bell gets heavier, our wrist is essentially in neutral right here. We do not want our wrist to look like that ever in the front rack position, okay? I do not want your thumb behind your wrist. Your thumb needs to be in line with your wrist or just a tiny bit in front of your wrist. All right, so let's go through some of just the finer points of the front rack and I'll get a lot closer to you so you can see really well. So we always want to think about our thumb kind of being just outside of our chin. It can be here if the bell's getting a little bit bigger, but it doesn't have to be exactly right underneath the chin. Right outside of the chin is great. You should feel again that pressure on your forearm, but it should not hurt, okay? As you're getting more used to the front rack position, it might be like a little ouchy, but again, no bruises afterwards. This should be something that you can hold for a really good amount of time without it having to stop because it physically hurts. All right, the other thing is look at my elbow. Where is it at? It is pulling down towards my waist. It is not pushing out here. It is not flaring out to the front or doing anything weird like that. As my elbow is pulling down towards my waist, my scap is also pulling down towards my opposite back pocket. This is just referred to as packing the shoulder. It means that we've got a lot of really nice engagement in that shoulder instead of letting it roll forward in that front rack position. All right, so the last thing about the front rack position is that we always want to think of it as a very tall position. A lot of times I'll see people get in the front rack and they'll just kind of want to slump forward and do this. So again, you can notice here that elbow is way far away from my waist, and I've also got that really kind of gripped down position that we know is not so great for our core or our pelvic floor. So whenever you're in the front rack, we want to stay really, really tall. And that means whether we're just catching the bell in the front rack, we're doing an exercise in the front rack, or anything that we're doing, you need to stay tall up and out of that front rack. All right, your job is to literally practice this front rack position. I promise you're going to want to practice it because when it comes up in a workout, you don't want to be trying to wing it. It is a little bit harder than it looks, but once you get it, you will have got it. It is just like riding a bike. I could not pick up a kettlebell for probably 6 months and go to pick up one, and yeah, it may take me a little bit of fidgeting to get everything right in that front rack, but I'll know exactly how to do it once I pick the kettlebell back up again. All right, that's all for now.